Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversation with Masters. Today we have a new guest directly from Australia, and I will be in conversation with Margarete, family constellation facilitator and trainer. So, welcome, Margarete.
Thank you, Marius. I'm very privileged to be here.
Yeah, I'm very happy you take the time to be here with us. So, please introduce yourself in the way that feels most authentic to you, Margarete.
So first, I actually would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the area from which I'm speaking, the Jinnabara and the Gabi Gabi people here in the Glasshouse Mountains area of Australia, Queensland. And I would like to pay my respect to the elders, past, present, and into the emerging future. And I also would like to also pay my respect to all my teachers, which I learned from, which, I met and which I had a privilege to sit in presence with. There's a lot of the first generation people within the Constellation community. I also trained with Laura Pearls with Gestalt therapy. So I have a long history of having a lot of ancestry of teachers behind me. And I hope I can bring some knowledge to our conversation, Marius. Yeah, probably what I'm saying personally about myself to introduce. I'm born in Colombia, grown up in Germany, and immigrated to Australia 33 years ago. And so I come out of a family system of really immigrants. And that in itself brings also some of my knowledge into this field.
Yes, many of us maybe we have this globalization side in us in some way maybe. So Margaret, what was the most challenging part of becoming a facilitator?
That's a very interesting question. Most challenging part. I have been a Gestalt therapist since 43 years. And I immigrated to Australia 33 years ago, how I said. And in that time, this continent just started in a way to develop within the field of psychotherapy. So the challenging part was that, all my training, I had to travel back into my country of origin, to Germany, in a way to get, to receive fundamental training within constellation work. To really travel to Bern Reed, where at that time most of the training actually took place. So that challenge in itself was to have the distance and to bring that back onto this continent. So personally, the challenge within the training was that I also, could move in between the two cultures or three cultures to see that my ancestral heritage, that's where Constellation comes from, Germany, brought a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, and to how to translate that also into and merge that also in that cultural field within Australia.
So you was the pioneer, right, to bring family constellation too. So if we look a little bit to responsibility and ethics, I'm curious, how does responsibility mean when you guide the group in systemic work?
Beautiful, and for me, a very heartfelt question, and it's one of my passions. My responsibility as a facilitator is really that I work ethically in a trauma-informed way. Yeah, that I bring in really to see from which place constellation can move. And one ingredient into that is that I work with the connection of the group field, really make sure that there is a connection, that everybody feels, every human being in the world has the urge to be seen, sourced, and feel safe. And how can I create that container for constellation work, for people to be regulated and to be available, to really look at that, what happened within their systems? So if I do constellation work from a place where people are quite dysregulated, not present enough, not knowing exactly what, like in a way, not having a really heartfelt urge of their healing, it becomes very blurry and sometimes, quite chaotic.
Right, that's true. And Margaret, in these days, many people, what I noticed in the field of this work, systemic work, they speak about projections. So, what I'm curious to ask you is how do you navigate this with your students, or how you handle this?
Say that word again. I really would like to understand that.
Projections.
Projections. Yes, that is something which comes up a lot within Constellation. I think there is a responsibility again, to build a good foundation where we really not just working with the field, and say we're just navigating what's coming up. Also to make a foundation to, really explore with students the theoretical framework of Constellation. And there is, something like, to really explain and see what does it mean when we work with phenomenology. So what's the difference then, projection and phenomenology? How can I step out of my projection? How can I step out of my judgment? What does it mean to actually become clean and clear so I can step into a representation fully and be available for that system and in service for that system, and not coming out of my own projection and step into the representation?
This phenomenon is quite known in the field, especially in the last 2 3 years. It seems many people speak about that,
Yeah.
and to be more aware about our work, it's something positive always, I guess. And Margaret, when a trainee or a student of you make some mistake, how do you approach it? That
Beautiful. Like we can never not make mistakes. Yeah. Main thing is when a student makes a mistake, then what does that mean actually? Like we all are trying our best. And it's when I make mistakes, even as a, facilitator, even after, 40 years of my work. I hope that the students have enough support within their cohort and within themselves in our relationship to also call upon that. It is to meet them respectfully, to really have a heart connection in order to be able to face and look. Yeah, to have the openness of, really like a critical reflection of our own moves. When I have a critical reflection within me, then I have an openness also to receive feedback in that direction. And that in itself, it's a learning process. And it goes back to what I said within the beginning. If I set the container within the cohort, and I really also encourage the people, they're all adults. They all come in there with their own history, but also with their adulthood. And sometimes we fall into the child responses that I call
baby adults, right?
baby adults. But that we have enough support with each other that we feel we can hold that critical reflection.
Yeah, it seems you are a good and soft teacher. No hard one, right? So that's it good. It's positive, I guess. And when you train these people, and live through all the knowledge what you have in all these years, do you look to some qualities what they must to have, maybe, or?
Yes. First of all, I want to say, we are a training organization. We have an academy and we train with 3 different teachers, 3 different generations of women. I'm the I'm the elder within that, and I have 2 other German women who are training within that, which is Melanie Enders and Antonia Kersting. And that in itself brings a regulation into the field. Yeah, and I think we are very clear that we have a high standard of teaching fundamental theoretical backgrounds, like, like how does the nervous system work, and how can we regulate the nervous system? How can we actually set up respectfully a place? When is the right time to actually even set up a constellation? When is it not possible to work with constellation? Well, that comes in my background of Gestalt therapy, where I do a piece of work where I work with the whole community in a more ancestral way, in a more ritual way, to create that container of safety and connection from which we can really move. So our training is really focused in, we have probably several pillars where we work relationally, trauma-informed, we bring in theoretical backgrounds, and very experiential and exploration. I see it as a laboratory. That's why I myself decided very clearly I would like to do training face-to-face. And I train here since 20 years now in Malani, in my little village where I live. And people travel from everywhere to do the training. And it is really where they can live in places together, where they can connect and build community.
And it's very nice you pick up the next generation in some way. If I understand, you are three different women with three different ages, right?
Yeah.
So, like I ask always all the colleagues in this field, how we can attract, the new generation, the younger maybe generation in this field, in this work.
Yeah. So that's a very good question. And that happens with us fairly naturally because we are three different generations, 30, 47, and then 71, so we have the three layers of generation. And it is very clear, like that Antonia, attracts different people than Melanie and, and I. So that in itself, really, that was an urge for me, to always a dream to create that, that I pass on my knowledge, because I will slowly fade out at one point into the background. And it is very important for me to set a ground for the next generation to step up. Yeah. So they do different things. So we do things in training together, but they also have their different businesses. So what they create in their businesses attracts also younger people within that and out into that field. Like, I think you had a conversation with Trina Temple at one point. She worked with me with us, also for a long, long time. And she, for instance, really, brings in the field of the indigenous people here in Australia, which is very, very profound and very important. So I think we have quite found our way to create that space to work intergenerational, really in the sense of family constellation work.
Yeah, it's nice you bringing new young generations. Some people they don't think about that, but it's like in a company, right? If
Yeah.
they start the company, one company, random company, 40, 50 years ago, the leaders, they start to look for the next generation, the new generation, to integrate them, to test them. And in Germany, they do that too. I know that. And they are very good in that.
Mhm.
And to learn them slowly, slowly, because it's not just to take a certification, but of course, maybe need some years to be
Yeah.
very profi, like, okay. So it's nice when all this generation they work together. The young generation they have many things to learn. Maybe the another generation they give through, and yeah, it's passed through in some way, and like this we can contribute maybe.
Can I say something to that, Marius? Because it is really quite important. You said in Germany, when I was trained as a Gestalt therapist, I had the privilege to have exactly that experience in Germany, because we had the principle that I became an assistant within my organization, and I worked within that organization. And you had to be an assistant for 7 years in a way until you could actually go and, start your own training or whatever you wanted to do, or be a trainer, even identify as a trainer. So, and I really appreciated these apprenticeships to go through this system. Yeah, and I really see that that is probably very much missing in the international community, to have that. So elders, or, role models, whatever you want to call it, like, in order to really pass on that and hold that as a community.
Yeah, because that's why I ask you about the ego, about the projection, about the last yesterday I speak with Nir, another well-known person in the field. Jealousy, all these elements. Yeah, take time to look at them, to understand the shadows, to understand the, and just maybe closer to a mentor, closer to someone who have more experience, in all these years, 5, 6 years, they see how they behave, how they are, how they move, right? And of course, maybe to be more softer and to just, work with this, what the people need, and support them, and don't mix it up, maybe, I will say.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So now I would like to ask you about the how do you handle the resistance from your students?
Yeah, absolutely. Resistance always, like, for me, resistance always turns up with any system. And it is, if I break through the resistance, like, there is for me no benefit out of that. So, what I learned within my own being and my own experience in my own training, how I do this, is to actually really stop for a moment, and I become very relational. Yeah, that I relationally meet that person, that we have a look together. What is actually happening at that contact boundary? What would it need in order to also soften? What would it need in order to move from this place? How can I develop something? What is it I can bring to the table also as a trainer? What is it you need also from me in order to respect and honor you in your difference? Yeah, resistance is always, for me, a sign of slow down, let's have a look together, and really work relationally. Yeah, so we can work with the resistance rather than breaking through it.
Right. So the answer is maybe to slow down the acceleration in some way.
Yes, yes. There is always an information when resistance turns up. Yeah, there is also, like, you come from, like, really the organizational field. If there is a resistance within, like, employees, there is absolutely an information also, yeah, for you as the leader of the organization, or, yeah, the employer. So to really take that in that regards, that I don't take the resistance as something personal. I think
True.
as a trainer, that is a very important point, that I'm able to meet the resistance rather than to ignore it or to judge.
It's very nice because exactly here is the next topic about the confidence and humility, right? Another 2 points very important maybe in this work.
Mhm.
So how do you teach them, hey, be confident in your work in this field and have humility?
Yeah, I think, confidence relies out of really accepting exactly who you are. Confidence comes out of the place where I can really lean back and really see, like that. When I turn up here, even this morning, early in the morning here, I turn up with my ancestral field. I'm not by myself. If I, like, what makes me, what allows me to be just who I am, is to sit comfortable in that place And how can we reach that? And as a teacher, I can reach that in order to really be vigilant and to be open to see the diversity of my students and to respect them. I myself, probably Trin voiced that, I think, in her broadcast. I have a dyslexic background. So my dyslexia was one of my biggest teachers, in a way, to really teach me to build my confidence and not be judged by that, to really see and embrace the gift I have through this. Yeah, and one thing I learned very much, and I hope that my students get that, is I can't hide anything anyway, so why should I try to be different than what I am? So let's have a look, what makes it, again, what makes it safe, what makes it possible, yeah, to turn up in the way who I am. In humanity, it has a lot to do, what you say, is to explore what means respect, what means to embrace difference, what means to go back to my heart when I harden in my heart, when I hardened in my being, I can't see and embrace the difference. So for me, it's very profound, consistently to travel back, and that's how I see Constellation too, to that which hasn't been traumatized, which always also exists within us.
Yeah. That's true. Margaret, so for the listeners, if they would like to come in contact with you, what is the best channel for you?
Yeah, but if people want to get in contact with me, is to use my website, to go and look at my website. Like you have my website within there, and contact me. I'm not someone who is consistently, on my computer, so be a bit patient. Yeah. People are very welcome to contact me also through Messenger, what you did actually. That's a very good channel for me to be contacted also, to ask questions. And
Yeah,
for
it's
me to
very
be,
easy because you
yeah,
are quite known in the field, so it's very
yeah,
easy to come in contact with you, I guess.
yeah. What I love to do is within that field is to provide supervision, mentorship, for people who want to step more into training, or which I do already with several people over the world, to really be available for mentoring them and supporting them and building up also their businesses.
So now another curiosity. I hope I don't tire you, right? I say always that with all my question and the things around, right? Margaret, how do you cultivate trust in this field and in your work?
How I cultivate trust in this field is a very broad question. Yeah. First of all, I look at around here and I look out of my window and I trust within my field where I live. I live here in a very quirky little community. We have very different generations. Youngest is 8 weeks old, and our oldest is, 74. So, like we have different people and different families and different cultures, very different. And we are like a natural community. It's not like we were aimed. And I trust that we can find a way where we allow ourselves to respect our differences and merge in our similarities. And that's the trust I really bring into the bigger field also of constellation. That, like that what needs to happen also, will turn up. That what needs to happen will be available. Again, if I trust within myself, that trust also will be rippled into the field of the bigger field.
Yeah, will reflect directly or indirectly in some way.
Yeah.
Yes, very interesting, right, Margaret? Very interesting conversation we have today, tonight. Depends where we are in the part of the world. And I have another things to ask you about the wisdom, right? So if you could leave one piece of your wisdom for the future students, what you will have or you have trained already, what will it be exactly?
It's very simple. One thing or two things which are really deep to my being is to come out of isolation into connectedness, to do that into your day by day life, that it doesn't stop with constellation work. Create that in your day to day life. The other one is that it is time for us to step out of the individualism into the collective, and to do that with an open heart, to allow myself to observe where my heart shuts down and where I can't connect from my heart, and to have an honesty about that, and then to work with that until, I can come with my open heart again. We are tribal creatures as human beings. We are not built as individuals. I am because we are. So it is the principle of Ubuntu, also where constellation work comes from, out of the African Ubuntu. I am because we are. Yeah. And to come back to that as a young generation.
My first, I write several books under the years. So my first book is called like this, I Am You.
Beautiful.
And this translated 9, I think, the different language. So I am you, I'm you.
Me.
It's like that, sometimes.
Exactly. Beautiful. So
For
you
my
very
own
early on.
experience.
So you very early on already received that wisdom, huh?
Not wisdom, but it's my personal experience, what I learn and what I, meet in my path right now.
Beautiful.
So I speak always from this point. I know I don't know. I know I don't know.
Very nice. Yeah, I
Like
can
this,
totally agree.
like this, I stay always open to learn, to grow, and to understand another people, how they think, how they, what is the perspective they have, of course. And this podcast actually born from this space.
And that is, I find, and can I say something to that? That's what I find in the beauty to work with 3 generations, or, like different generations. I learn enormously from them. I learn every time I sit in space with them together, or we do and teach together. And wow, it's like, like another door opens within my being. And also that really is a privilege that keeps me young.
Yes. Apropos transferring, because we do not just projecting to others, to each other, but we can transfer to these things called vibe, the vibe. So it's nice, the energy, right? So Margaret, if you have a message for the world, what will be?
I think the main message will be to really look, what is your intention with the work? Where does your intention come from? Does it come from your heart, or, where do you move from? Like what you said, we can only exist in this, like in the we rather than in the me. Yeah. And when we understand that, then we have an openness and we step out of, competition, out of, having to, find your inner really peace and way of what you bring specifically, uniquely to this work.
That's nice. Margaret, thank you very much again for this night, this morning for you. You take the time, and it was a pleasure, of course, to connect with you and speak with you.
Yeah, and I want to really thank you, Marius. In a way, you bring something really fresh and different, and also very clear into this field. And that in itself, it feels like touches my heart. So thank you for that.
This is the voice for this field, this space. So this is my contribution, because you tell me about the contributions. I guess with these voices, they come closer to many, many people from different countries.
Mhm.
And like this, I do my work too.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Fantastic. Thank you again. And I hope I see you soon in Australia or around the globe, maybe to one of your workshops. Why not?
Would be a privilege to see you in person and to feel you somatically. Thank you, Marius.
Thank you again. My name is Marius, and thank you for listening.